Hello, welcome to this Operational Excellence video. Today we will be learning about takt time, cycle time, and lead time. We will examine the three different times and explain how they are related and how they differ. Knowing what these terms mean and how and when they apply will help you understand and design your processes to better meet your customers' demands. First of all, let's look at takt time. Takt time is a calculated value that describes the theoretical demand rate of your customer. In other words, it is the rate at which you need to produce in order to meet their demand. Takt time is calculated by dividing your available production time by the number of units your customer needs. So for a single shift operation running 7.5 hours a day, 20 days a month, you have 150 available hours, or 540,000 seconds. If the customer needs 20,000 units, the calculated takt time is 27 seconds. So in order to meet the customer demand, 1 unit will need to be produced every 27 seconds, at a minimum. Takt time is useful to get a gauge on what is actually needed in order to meet your customer's demand. But it would not be wise to run it exactly 27 seconds unless you know your process never has an issue. Most operations know there are going to be issues, especially early in their learning curve. As a result, they plan to run faster than their takt time by a certain increment to allow for some downtime. This would be their targeted cycle time. Cycle time is the rate at which your operation is actually producing a unit. Cycle time is measured as the frequency of units produced. So if you're watching a process, the cycle time is the time it takes from the output of one unit to the output of the next unit. You can continue to measure those cycles, output, 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 etc., to determine how reliably your process is able to meet its cycle time. Producing at a consistent and predictable cycle time indicates a stable process and allows you to see abnormalities quickly. Lead time is the measurement of how long it takes one unit to make its way through your operation, front to end. You measure the lead time by watching a unit enter the operation, following it through the entire process, and stopping when it leaves the last step. Lead time is a useful measurement in two ways. First, if your product is a made-to-order product, it tells you how long your customer has to wait for their unit to be completed. Secondly, it can be a gauge on how much inventory is in your process. If it only takes 5 minutes worth of effort to produce a product, but the lead time is 5 days, that means your operation has a lot of inventory between every step, delaying the output of the work. Value stream mapping can help highlight where those inventories are located. To understand takt time, cycle time, and lead time further, let's look at a scenario and apply the terms as we go. In this scenario, we have a small company that produces colored circles on white paper. The operation requires 3 work steps: tracing, cutting, and adhering. Step 1, tracing, outlines the circle to be cut. Step 2, cutting, cuts the circle. Step 3, adhering, attaches the circle to a sheet of paper. The company has 3 employees, 1 on each step. Currently, the company has 1 customer that regularly orders 36,000 units a month. If the company ran a 7.5-hour shift per day, what would the takt time be? Let's review the takt calculation again. Takt time is the calculated demand rate, available time divided by units needed. The available time in a 7.5-hour shift is 27,000 seconds. Multiply that times 20 days in a month equals 540,000 seconds in the month. So our available production time in the month is 540,000 seconds in this scenario. To get takt time, we need to divide 540,000 seconds by the number of units ordered, or in this case, 36,000. When we do that, we get the takt time of 15 seconds per unit. This company will need to produce 1 unit every 15 seconds during their 7.5-hour shift to meet their customer's demand. Now let's watch the process to see how we do. Let's measure the cycle time of the operation. To do that, we simply have to measure how frequently one unit comes off the end of the line. Let's measure. Output. 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 When we measure the cycle time, we get roughly 13 seconds. Do these times meet our takt time? Yes, they do. If we continue to run at this pace, we will meet our customers' demands. Now, let's evaluate the cycle times of the individual process steps with enough inventory to let them run. Let's watch the output of tracing. Output. 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 Now let's watch cutting. Output. 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 And lastly, adhering. Output. 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 The cycle time of tracing is 6 seconds. The cycle time of cutting is 13 seconds. And the cycle time of adhering is 6 seconds. After examining the individual times, it is clear that the output of cutting is far slower than the other two steps. What was our takt time again? Correct, 15 seconds. Even though cutting is slower, it is still meeting our takt time. So as a whole, the process is meeting takt time. Looking at the timings of each step, are there ways to improve this process? Sure. The first and last step could be combined and still meet takt time. Another option would be to have 2 cutters, which could bring the overall process cycle time down to 6 seconds. In this scenario, the additional speed is not required, so the first option might be preferable. Here we have our combined cell. The first operator is tracing, handing it to the second operator for cutting, and then adhering the previous circle. This balances the work content between the two operators. Why don't you go and measure your own process? You might be surprised at what you find.